Hey, it worked.
Wow, we're back. So yeah, I'm not going to repeat all of that because if you were on my Facebook page, you got everything we said. But I will do just a very brief, abbreviated, quick PSA. We invite you to join us on Sundays at 9 and 10:30 a.m. for worship service at the Sunshine Cathedral. If you're going to join us for in-room worship, we need you to make a reservation as well as wear a mask. Join us every day, Monday through Saturday, for midday prayer. That's at noon. And guess what time midday prayer is? It's at noon. Also, and join us for Share in the Chair on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. as well. Enough of that, because you can go to my Facebook page and catch all the other stuff that happened. That was kind of funny. But anyway, we're just going to dive right in. Thank the panel for being here tonight. We got everybody tonight. Woohoo!
Cheers.
Hey, we got everybody.
Drinking word. Drinking word is blood.
The drinking word is flood. Okay, so I'm going to do a brief thing while Darrell drinks. If you're in Southeast Florida or you know what's going on in Southeast Florida, we are underwater here. Roofs have been leaking. Homes have been flooded. If you're out by the Everglades where Margarita and Linda live, you can take a kayak to wherever you want to go. It's like being in Venice. It's like a gondola, you know. Hey, that could be a fundraiser, Margarita and Linda. Don't, that could be a fundraiser. Don't tip me though. But anyway, all right, Darrell, it's yours. Take it away. Let's do this.
Hey everybody. Hey girls. Hey.
We're exhausted.
Robert and I are so tired. We were up till 5 a.m. bailing water because we, for some reason, never thought we would need a wet vac. One is on order. We will soon, by the end of the week, be proud owners of a wet vac because we will never have to do that again. The flood. We have three of our doors. Oh, flood! I said flood. Three of our doors.
With alcohol.
We have three doors, and two of them are hurricane doors. The other one's old, it's not, but we have the shutters. Well, the door that wasn't a hurricane door, and it was also not shuttered, that was the invitation for waters to just come pouring into our home and ruin our night. So we were up till 5 a.m. fighting the deluge, and we prevailed, but we are tired and we're punch drunk and we're silly, and so forgive us. Okay, so there's that. It's Christians and Cocktails, where we have a list of questions that have come from us from a variety of places, some from the panel, some from viewers, some just have come along at some point. And so the panel asked them and tried to stump me. And then once I just raise the flag, I can't give it anymore, then others chime in, and then we move on to the next one. We have a good time doing it. We learn some stuff along the way. And whenever we say the secret word, today the word is flood. Whenever we say the secret word flood, everyone drinks. So
I bet we'll have a lot of questions tonight, won't we?
Right. And while everyone else is having cocktails, I have disguised a Red Bull just for survival here within a glass, but we'll make it work. Okay, so let's
Goes great with vodka, by the way.
It does. Why doesn't? So let's begin with Tito. Tito, ask us something.
You sure you want me to ask the question? Last time you had me ask the question,
that was the only question we got.
Oh, that's right. We started with you last time, and that was all she wrote.
Wow.
An hour we spent discussing your question. Okay, but we'll if that's how it works, that's how it works.
Oh God.
It was good last week. It was good.
That was
I once heard you say that even if you didn't believe in God, you would still pray. Why pray if there's no God?
Right. I do believe in God, or I believed in sacredness, sanctity, love, beauty, joy, connection, and I call that God. Other religions have different names for what they consider ultimate, or what's really real, or supreme, or divine. And actually, our tradition does too. We just don't use them. There's a lot of names for the divine in our scriptures, but mostly we just say God. God is our favorite nickname for God. And so anyway, I do believe, obviously, that we're all connected. That there is a substance in the universe, and that substance is our substance. We're part of it. So we're connected to each other. There is this source of life, and we are part of it. We are part and parcel of it, as Emerson said. So I do believe in God. And I could believe in God without praying. And I could pray without believing in God. Because my understanding of prayer and my understanding of God isn't that God is a humanoid being separate from me, but paying attention to me, especially when I break rules. That was my childhood understanding. Of course, the Apostle Paul said, when I was a child, I thought like a child, but when I became an adult, I put away childish things. And so when I think of the complexities and the vastness of the universe, that our one little tiny planet and our one little galaxy and our one little piece of forever, that there is a God just looking down, waiting for us to flatter that God and beg that God, and then hope maybe that God cuts us a break every once in a while. That is not my theology. That is not my understanding. But prayer is when I reflect on what this is that I call God. Prayer is when I commune with the God of my understanding. And so if my communion, if my introspection, if my contemplation led me to determine there was no such thing, that's still prayer. And I would still be doing that. I would still be asking the big questions. I would still be exploring the mysteries of life. And that is prayer. And whether or not I was very philosophically minded or not, I would always wish for my loved ones to be safe and well. I would always express compassion when someone was hurting. I would always, when things were difficult, hope for the best. When something was amazing and wonderful and beautiful, I would experience a moment of awe or gratitude. And that's what prayer is. So prayer for me is its own energy, and it's positive and it's life-giving. And I would be, I can't imagine not participating. In fact, I can't imagine anyone not participating in it. They may not call it prayer. They may call it love. They may call it kindness. They may call it thinking of people. They may call it hope. They may call it determination. Because I do it intentionally, I think of it as prayer. I call it prayer. But if there is a source and substance, and maybe some people don't believe there is, of course, but if there is an ultimate reality, if there is something that is really real, that is the spark that gives birth to everything. That is true whether we believe it or not. That is true whether we have language for it or not. That is true whether or not we give it any lip service. And if love matters, if connection is real, if hope is sustaining, well, that's prayer. And those things are real, whether or not we have any sort of theology or not. So yes, I would, I could believe in God without praying, and I could pray without believing in God. And in fact, prayer is so central to my life. I would be if I were an atheist, I would be a praying atheist. I would. So, but remember, and I said it out loud and I said it clearly, I do believe in God. So don't tell people, don't say, you know what, Darrell doesn't even believe. No, that's not true. But prayer, for me, is independent of whatever my theology is. What do any of you have to say about that?
Well, I had a few months ago, we've been doing this Christians and Cocktails thing online since like March or something. And a few months ago, I really went through like a prayer journey myself. And I had a series of, I think for like 5 Mondays in a row, my questions were about prayer. And, I kind of came to that conclusion through that journey as well. Like prayer doesn't have to be this formal thing where you sit down and you kneel and you do all the things that you're supposed to do for prayer. And now I just find myself, like I consider meditation prayer, kind of like you said, it doesn't have to be called prayer, but it still is. Mm-hmm. So
we have a spiritual director among us whose ministry is to help people, connect with the God of their understanding or seek after that which is ultimate and real. What do you say? If you were asked that question, Margarita, what would you have said?
Well, for me, prayer is a lot, right? It's so broad. And I think like Tara, one of the things that made me go ahead and go into spiritual direction was when I was in seminary and I went to a spiritual director with that same question. And, at the beginning, I was thinking that it needed to be a ritual, a specific ritual that I needed to kneel or, you know, do certain prayers. And it was very liberating to have someone affirm that, you know, if I was grateful, anytime that I was grateful, that was a prayer. If I was attending to a friend who needed me on a phone call, that was a prayer. And that started to broaden in my understanding of prayer. And in the Course in Miracles, there's a pamphlet that is the Song of Prayer. And that is all about prayer. And I love how that says that prayer is shared love that comes from the creation to the creator. And they become one in song. So, you know, it's so beautiful the way, I mean, it goes through a lot, but it really is, it talks about not that God of when you're a kid thinking it's Santa and you're gonna ask for things. It's really a communion with the presence of whatever you understand is a higher power. And I think, you know, walking through the beach and being in awe is a prayer. So to me, it really has broadened my understanding of prayer, for sure.
We had a member of our church, Father John McNeil. He was a public theologian. He was a therapist. He was a writer. He co-founded the New York chapter of Dignity, which is LGBTQ Catholics affirming support. And he retired to Florida, and he was part of our congregation. And he would say that he was a Jesuit. He had been a Jesuit, and there were all of these disciplines, you know, that his fellow Jesuits would follow. And he said he just wasn't really good at it, and he felt sort of guilty about it until he developed his own sort of liturgy of the hours. And what he did was he read the New York Times every day, cover to cover, and so he let that be his prayer. So whenever he would read something and there'd be some, you know, volcano eruption or some earthquake or some fire or, you know, some kid in a well or whatever, he would just pause and say a little prayer for that, what was going on, and then he would continue reading. And so he wound up praying the news every day, and that became how he prayed. And because it was authentic, because it was from the heart, because it was about love, I think that was probably as powerful a way of praying as anyone else's discipline. So yeah, I would pray. Who I heard?
You know, I think that
When you don't put all these limitations on prayer, like kind of what Margarita was saying, that you have to be in a certain place and it has to be at a certain time, and you really you kind of can come to this state where you're in like a constant prayerful state, because you don't have all these expectations that you're putting onto your prayer. And that's really cool to be able to get to that place where, you know, you're just praying as you're walking down the street, or, you know, like when you're stopped at a red light, you know, you don't have to be in a specific mode to pray.
I had a friend who, whenever she would fly, her prayer was she would touch the plane, you know, when you get on, and so you can touch the outside as you're stepping inside. She would touch the outside and say, "I'm on this one, God." That was her whole prayer. She never prayed for a safe flight. She never, you know, prayed for safety. Or all she did, and it was just, and of course,
that's cute.
It was to remind her that God was with her no matter what. But the ritual was she would touch the plane and she said, "I'm on this one, God." I think that was probably as great a way of praying about anything. Robert, I think you were trying to get in here.
Yeah, I was thinking about what Mona West, you know, which Reverend Dr. Mona West, that a lot of us know. She always talked about life. Live your life as if you're praying each and every moment. And one of those things that kind of, you know, I was thinking about that. It's like, okay, Mona, I don't have time to think about that 24/7. But when I talked to her about it, it's like, okay, if really you are in that space where you're being mindful, and she went to mindfulness, that if you are mindful of what it is that you're doing and how you're doing it, you are actually living your life as if you're praying. And so I think so many times for me, it's when it's get chaotic or just crazy, when I just take that just a moment, just 3 seconds to breathe, focus, and reset. For me, that's prayer. And, you know, as a Baptist growing up, it was about needing to find the right space, the right time, and I had to be in this right frame of mind in order to do all this stuff. Yeah, you know, every head bowed and all eyes closed. Whatever. So, but today it's like, for me, it's like prayer is just a way of life. Anything that I encounter, it is just about being mindful of what we're encountering and what I'm encountering and how I encounter that situation. And I think one of the things that Mona talked about is also that when you encounter others, that you also form this kind of, you know, atmosphere to pray for others that you do encounter, whether you are even conscious of it or not, because you're just being mindful of what you're going through. So, and how prayer can kind of extend out from you to others that incorporates, whatever it is that they're going through or what you're going through, so that you're just always in that state of prayer.
I had a priest when I was a teenager tell me that to try to pray is to pray.
Mm.
So like whatever your prayer intention is, that is your prayer. And I have taken now in this stage of my life, not only thinking that whatever my loving intention is a prayer, but also what anyone else's loving intention is. I receive as a prayer. Maybe they wouldn't call it that, but if someone wishes me happy holidays, I think, oh yeah, I would like to have happy holidays. I would like for this season to be, you know, blessed and happy and smooth and wonderful. So I just receive that. I just accept that as a blessing. Someone says, have a nice day. I just hear that as a blessing, as a prayer, and I accept it. I receive it as one, as someone blessing me. So yeah, I think prayer is consciousness. Prayer is what we'd say it is. And so when you're kind, you're blessing people. When people are kind to you, they're blessing you. I don't even think we have to make it much more complicated than that.
So I would just add that at 6:21, it's flooding everywhere, and we're still talking about Tito's question.
And we decided we would leave you with a question and pop out for a little while, see how you get on your own.
Well, I was praying for you.
Did pretty good. So
y'all are some sometimey folk. Yeah, I'm here. I'm not here. I participate. I
We
won't.
made another
Yeah,
picture. We're back.
we see how y'all do. Well, all right. Let's Sam, ask us another question. Enough about prayer. Let's Sam, ask us another one.
Okay, well, you may have kind of already answered this one a little bit. It says you seem to value intellect and appreciate science. Do you really believe in God? Which you know, obviously you do. But how? How do you believe in God if you also value intellect and appreciate science?
Actually, science and intellectual curiosity have helped me develop an understanding of the divine. If I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita, or if I'm reading the Tao Te Ching, so my intellectual curiosity has exposed me to other vocabularies and other traditions about relating to and exploring and discussing ultimate reality. Even to refer to what I think of as divine as ultimate reality is something I have learned from non-dualistic Hinduism. And so the intellectual curiosity has exposed me to a lot of different poetries and rituals and traditions and vocabularies and experiences that has helped me free God from the smaller box that I had God in earlier in my life. And so there's that. And then also science has done the same thing. Science is a search for truth, and religion is a search for truth. Now, they understand truth differently. Science is trying to figure out how things work, how things are. Religion wants to figure out why things are. So they're looking for different truths. And science's truth needs to be factual. Religion's truth does not. Religion's truth, in fact, requires euphemism and metaphor and allegory and myth and imagination. And so so my intellectual curiosity and studies and searching have helped God be bigger for me. And so it's actually, if I thought God could only be the way it was presented to me when I was 10, or there's no God, I would have to be atheist. But my curiosity and my searching have led me to other ways to explore. And then in my exploring, I have discovered things that are true for me. So I do believe in ultimate reality. I do believe in an omnipresence. I do believe in love and beauty and in the power of indomitable hope. I believe these things, and I call these things God. And the God that a lot of atheists don't believe in, I also don't believe in. I don't believe in Santa God. I don't believe in the Marquis de God. I don't believe in a punishing God. I don't believe in like the good fairy, just granting wishes to good boys and girls. I don't. So the God that a lot of people have rejected, I have also rejected. I just didn't think that it was a zero-sum game. I didn't think it was this God or no God. I, for some reason, stumbled onto a path where if this isn't God, I wonder if something else could be for me. I actually had a friend once, a mystic friend, who I thought described it very beautifully. She said, God is the search for God. And when you think you found it, you probably got an idol. You probably have, if you can put it in a box, you probably, you got more searching to do. But God is the search for God. And so the searching, the mystery, the searching, the journeying, that is what's life-giving for me, and that's what's inclusive for me. So, and the more I search, the more I find. So I do believe in God, and I also believe that once I can really just super nail it down, that I've got more searching to do. And so religion and philosophy and science are all great tools for searching. So yeah, I do appreciate science. I appreciate it more than I understand it. I'm not, I'm kind of an artsy guy, but I do appreciate it. And I also appreciate poetry, and I appreciate history, the humanities. I appreciate religion and myth and metaphor and music and drama. And all of these are tools in my kit for exploring and making meaning of life. That's what I got to say. What somebody else got to say?
I think also you have to experience God, and that's when you start believing, when you personally experience something about God. I know that for me, I believe because, since I was a kid, I was believing, but I think the experience I had when I almost got my life taken away 23 years ago, and the only thing I was able to do at that moment was to pray, and I was spared. So I think, when things like that happen to you, you definitely get another sense of God that you didn't have.
Mm-hmm. And I love the idea from our own tradition, God is I am. God is to be. God is isness, which makes God a verb. And so if you think, this ancient universal metaphor of God as an ocean, and we're waves in the ocean, or we're drops in the wave, one with part of the ocean is actually bigger than the wave, and yet the wave isn't anything that the ocean isn't, that the ocean is being expressed in the wave, right? And so another way to think of that, though, is the wave isn't a thing by itself. The wave is an action. The wave is the ocean waving. And so in my understanding and experience, we are God Godding. We are isness being expressed. And so again, that's to borrow from quantum physics, that's to borrow from philosophy, that's to borrow from Hinduism, that's to borrow from the Hebrew scriptures. I am that I am. And so, yes, the intellectual curiosity and the search just gives you more and more tools to work with. And then as you're working your own path, as you're going on your own journey, you have your own experiences. And so when you experience yourself to be the ocean waving or God Godding, that's completely subjective, that's completely personal. And yet, once you've had it, if it was empowering and life-giving, you're not going to give that up quickly. Because that becomes dear to you, that becomes precious to you. Sam, I know you. I'm sorry, who's Robert?
No. I just noticed how this question is phrased. It's like, do you really believe in God? And one of the things what I'm thinking about is like, which God, first of all, and God is so situational. well, let me phrase that. For me, God is so situational that there's not just one supreme God. And when I look at this question, it's almost I interpret like, are you asking if there's a supreme God, that there's a God over all gods, or so I'm probably reading more into this question than probably what's there, but most people probably say that there's just one God, but I think there are many gods, and it is about which God you need for that moment in order to get you through whatever you're going through. So I think that's another approach to how we look at, do we believe in God? I think we believe in more than just one God.
There was a contemporary Christian singer, lesbian singer, Marsha Stevens, who lives in Florida, I believe still. And she had this wonderful song, because she grew up in an evangelical tradition. And so God was her father and Jesus was her Lord, and, all this masculine language. And she became a big advocate for inclusive language. And so she wrote a song, and I think it was called the Mommy Song or something. But anyway, this, and she talks about, you've been my strong this and my father this and my protective this and blah, blah, blah. And then she has this line, but can I ask you something new? Will you be my mommy too? And then the whole rest of the song is her, wanting to lay on her mommy's breast and be embraced and have, and have her, mommy do her hair and kiss her boo-boo and, whatever. All these nurturing, wonderful images. And I remember having a similar experience when I was in my 20s, of just saying, I need you, God, to be something more than what they're telling me you can be. And so again, my prayer, I prayed not even knowing if the God I had inherited was legit or if it's something I could cling to. And yet I still prayed, if you're there and if you care, this presentation is not enough for me. Can we work that out? And for a while, I would play with all kinds of like mystical and Middle Age images from the Middle Ages. I refer to God as a mother pelican. I think Carter Hayward wrote a prayer once in one of her books about the elephant Christ. I mean, it just being able to play with it and explore it. And what I have found is there is no place, whether it's the elephant Christ or the pelican mother God or whatever, that there's no place I've looked for God where I have not found her.
When I was growing up, this was something that I wrestled with in school, because I loved math and science. Those were my subjects. And science was just the most fascinating thing for me. And so I struggled for quite a while with, how can I believe in science and prove things that happen or are in existence or whatever, and still believe in God. And as a child, I reconciled it as, God is, and science is the way God does. And that was kind of the way I reconciled it growing up. And I'm like, okay, science just is the way that we figure out how God does. And so that was, in the simplified form, kind of reconciliation between science and God.
Evolution is God godding.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to separate God from like when you can separate mythology from God, when it doesn't have to be literally true, then science does make sense. Like, why wouldn't God be able to create a super complex system that functions on its own? Like, that sounds like something that God would totally be able to do. Like, why wouldn't God create evolution? Why wouldn't play tectonics? Like, the world doesn't have to be, 5,000 years old or whatever. It can, those stories that some people try to literalize just don't have to be true to be able to believe in God. Mm-hmm. And, and a lot of scientists believe in God, people that are devoted entirely to science,
Yes.
I have something. Yes, I was going to say, in divine science, right, we speak about the omnipresence of God. And in other words, there's not a spot where God is not. Mm-hmm. So then God is in science, science is in God. And many years ago, I started to see God in science more often, because I wonder, wow, so we have people out there. My intellect won't make me a doctor ever, right? A medicine doctor. But there's people out there that get it and are doctors and are helping those that need their services feel better, whatever it is. Or there's the ones that do the research. I mean, it is through science that we have found the vastness of the universe. So in that finding, I find God, because then I see how much how much bigger is its presence, right? It's just there's not a spot where God is not. So yes, God is there, and that intellect that some people more than others have is part of God, right? And its manifestation. So through them and through science, we find God.
Yeah, God for me is allness. God, if God is omnipresence, then God is the one presence. And if God is the one presence, there aren't two presences. There can't be two things occupying the same place. If, wherever this isn't. No matter how close it is, there's only this in its spot, right? So if God is everywhere present, fully present, then God is the only presence. And if God is the only presence, then whatever we're looking at, whatever we're experiencing, is part of God. I was saying that we had this unfortunate flood that came into our house and whatnot, and that was actually the thought that helped me. Was this is God guiding? This is happening in God. I'm not loving it. I didn't ask for it. I'm not giving a stamp of approval to it. But Walter Starkey wrote a book called "It's All God: The Flowers and the Fertilizer." And so last night we had a little bit of the fertilizer, but it's all God. We can't say that God is omnipresent, but isn't in this experience that I don't like. No, God is in that also. And what makes things unbearable is our judgments about them. And what makes things bearable is how we choose to respond to them. And so for me, God is, I think the reason I find God everywhere I look is because God is everywhere I look. That God is everywhere. God is everything. And the kids seem to get it. If you can talk to kids about it, kids always get it. If you take a rope and where's Grandpa, and you tie a rope, a knot into a rope, and you say, but this knot is Grandpa, and then you untie it. Where's Grandpa? And they're like, well, it's still the rope. The rope just was knotted up. Now it's unknotted, but the rope is still the rope. Exactly. Exactly. So we're this rope, and we tie ourselves into knots, and that's our life experiences. And then at the end of life, it's all untied, and it's still the rope. It's still just the one thing. And I believe that. So because that is different than a theistic view of God on a cloud somewhere on a throne, looking down and making judgments and giving some people favors, because that's different, people will say, oh, I wonder if Darrell really believes in God. Let's ask a lot of questions about it. Darrell, do you really believe in God? I do. I just believe in the rope God instead of the throne God.
I think Madonna gave us the answer a long time ago when she came up with her song, God is a mystery. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in the military when that song came out. And I just remember how chaplains preached against Madonna for doing that song. Because God is a mystery, and you go to Om, and it was like they were just like preaching heresy against Madonna. And I just thought, really, but God is a mystery, and God is so much more that when we think about what God really is or isn't, and do it through prayer, we find God where we need God to be in our lives. Wherever we are on our journey, there God is. And so I just had that thought about God is a mystery. It's like Madonna said, God is a mystery. And so however we think about what God is or God isn't, God still really is a mystery, even in the midst of a flood. So I
like the idea of the ocean waving, the rope knotting, God guiding. And there's nothing in any tradition, including science, that necessarily refutes that. So we can study things, we can learn things, we can appreciate things, and just incorporate it all into our journey. Linda, why don't you ask us something? I'm determined to get 3 questions in this week. Linda, why don't you ask us something?
So you have both affirmed and debunked miracles. Are you confused about the subject, or
Ooh,
are we
hallelujah.
missing something?
Glory.
Why?
Just unleashed the floodgates, didn't she?
Why?
Oh,
Why is everybody coming for me tonight?
You asked for it, by the way.
sweet baby Jesus. Where's Madonna when you need
Why
her?
are y'all coming for me tonight? Okay. Well, here's the thing. I do believe in miracles. I believe in miracles as taught by A Course in Miracles, that a miracle is a change of perception from fear to love. And once we, and I love Emmett Fox's golden key, where if you're stuck, if you're afraid, if you're overwhelmed, change your focus. Focus instead of on the problem, focus on God and on God's goodness, on God's attributes, which are love and wisdom and grace and compassion and presence and power. And so turn from the problem to God. And then as you're focusing on the good, you were much more likely to experience good, to have good ideas, to and to find your way out of the mess. So and he would sometimes just say, if you have a problem, golden key it. He called it the golden key it. Change your focus. I think that's what a miracle is. It's when you change your focus from fear to love. When I am afraid, I once had a spiritual advisor. This is just memory lane night tonight. All these people have influenced me. I once had a spiritual advisor who said, because I'm like, I was very close to my grandmother, and she was always very ill my whole life, her whole life. She was always very ill, and I was so close, and I was always afraid that she might, die. And of course, one day she did. I mean, that's how you get off the planet. But I was always afraid it was going to happen too soon, or I wouldn't be ready, or I'd be miserable. And she was so sweet. She said, "You're a worrier. You are always going to find something to attach your fear to." She said, "If you weren't afraid of this, you would find something else to attach your fear to." And she said, the problem is to work on your fear, not what you're afraid of. It's that you're carrying fear. And until you resolve that, you're going to attach it to something so that your grandmother, might not live much longer. And then she considered herself to be a bit of a psychic. She said, without having ever met my grandmother, she said, she kind of paused for a second. She said, and I don't get the sense that she's going anywhere anytime soon anyway. So she just sort of gave me permission to not obsess about that. And then to tell me that my issue was my issue. You're carrying around fear. And until you resolve that, you're going to attach it to something. And then you'll be saying, I'm afraid of that. It may not even be about that. It just may be that you have this anxiety that you haven't dealt with. So to change that perspective was miraculous. It changed my life. And when I needed help doing it, I'm like, oh, I still go to this weird, anxious place. Oh, you know what? There is a whole, again, I love science. There's this whole realm of pharmacology. I bet, there's, if I can't do this on my own, if I can't pray this away, if I can't rationalize it away, I can medicate it away. And praise God, here comes Lexapro. And before that, Effexor. But I think as the miracle wasn't so much the efficacy of the medicine, but in my willingness to say, I need to do something differently. I need to try something. I deserve to be happy and not to walk around with all this fear. So I do believe in miracles. I also believe, as I said on Sunday, I was talking about the prophet visiting the widow and her son, and she shared her little bit of flour and oil, and it never ran out. And I really did just say, that magical flour that never runs out isn't really a thing. This isn't about the flour. This is about when we share love, when we share kindness, when we share compassion, we never run out. We will never exhaust that. So this is a metaphor. So yes, I will debunk magic flour and have had life-changing experiences when I've shifted my perception from fear to love. So it isn't that I'm confused about miracles, it's that I may define them, I don't define them as kind of spooky, giving the finger to nature kind of events. I don't think virgins have babies. I don't think 90-year-old women have babies. I don't think people walk on water. I don't think people ascend into a 3-tier, universe, go up to the escalator to heaven, and then one day, zillions of years from now, will come back down on the down escalator. I don't take those kinds of stories literally, and I'm surprised that anyone does. We get on a plane and we can fly in the air. We have explored space. There are people walking around with someone else's organ inside their body. Right now, there could be somebody watching and participating and being with us live in this moment from New Zealand, where it's tomorrow. I mean, like in our world, these ancient miracle stories seem almost like a yawn anyway. Like when it comes to amazing events, we just are getting those more and more and more and more all the time. So yes, but those all have explanations. The miracle is when you open yourself up to a new way of seeing the world. The miracle is when you let go of fear, let go of a grudge, when you allow yourself to heal from a past pain. So I do believe in miracles, and I believe in gravity. And I just don't believe that those two things cancel each other out. Dennis, the science guy, what you got about to add to any of that?
No, I growing up, we were always taught miracles were magic. I mean, that's I think that's one of those records that we play in our head all the time, that we have to look for the magic in something, when the magic is actually just us existing. That's the magic. Us experiencing the thing, that's the magic. So there in itself is the miracle. And it's like you said, it's all in our perception. It's all in how we look at it. So, but yeah, I don't believe in the magic anymore. I just believe that, every day is a miracle. Everything is a miracle, because God is a miracle, because God's miraculous. We don't know what God is. Yeah. So
we are 8 same-gender loving people who grew up in Catholic and fundamentalist and Mormon backgrounds. It is a miracle that we are people of faith and we are putting ourselves out there to share our faith.
Sure.
That's a miracle, because we had to change our perspective about things, to not reject religion, to share that we have not rejected or have re-embraced faith. I mean, we have shifted our perception from fear to love lots of times. And so this show is a miracle in lots of ways. And it gets to be a miracle even if once you use up all the flour, it's gone. Does that make sense?
AKA
every Christians and Cocktails, I do run out of beer.
and
And that in itself must be a miracle, because
Right.
Sam never runs out of beer.
and the reference to run out of flour, watch the sermon from yesterday. So
Yes. And we can also use a magic invocation, 7-Eleven, Publix, and boom, there's more beer.
No, refrigerator, beer.
The pastor's porch.
Yeah, some showing up at your house like, I need a miracle.
It's in the fridge. So we have Course in Miracles teachers with us, Margarita and Linda. Give us something else about it, especially Linda, since you asked the hateful question. It was not her question. I'm kidding. There's this list. I said, you asked this one, you asked this one. It was not. She did not ask that. And it's not a hateful question. I mean, I get why people would be confused. Like, if you think miracle is magic, yeah, I sort of debunk magic, and I get excited about miracles, but in my head, they're different things. What do you have to say, Linda?
So one of my favorite quotes from A Course in Miracles is, the holiest spot on earth is where an ancient hatred has turned into love.
Mm-hmm.
I may be missing a word or two. Where an ancient hatred has turned into love. So that is the transformation that a miracle refers to, based on A Course in Miracles, is changing your perception, transforming your idea about something. So I think that for me, that kind of brings it home, right?
And in A Course in Miracles, the 50 Principles of Miracles, which is the beginning of the book, of the textbook, number 5 says that miracles should be habits and should be involuntary. So there you have it. And it talks about the way that we change our perspective, the response to what we see in the world. That's what a miracle is. It's just responding differently. And if we do that, then we're miracle workers all the time.
I love it. I love it. We have, we're going to start wrapping up. Robert's going to do his little round robin thing that he does with it. But before we get there, we haven't heard a lot from Tara. Sometimes we can't even get anybody else in the conversation for Tara, but I'm kidding. I kid Tara. And also we haven't heard much from Tito. Again, I'm a little stunned. So do you have any, about any of the topics we've discussed tonight or anything new that you want to inject? And also, Tito, is there anybody trying to get in and out in the interwebs?
There was a question about vestments. If you want me to ask that, I can ask you. I don't know if we have enough time.
Just keep it short.
Yeah. I won't wax philosophical too much about vestments. Go ahead and ask.
It says, hello all. Can Darrell speak a minute about vestments? Although he always looks fabulous, is there a specific color that is required each week or for each season? Do specific roles or reverends have specific requirements for their vestments? What does the embroidery on the vestments show? Is it a simple matter of choice, or a matter of choice, or a certain level of achievement?
That is not a question. That is a flood of questions.
That's a lot of questions, for sure.
A few weeks ago, you had a green vestment on that had 3 crosses, while Robert's vestment had 2.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't need as many crosses.
There, yeah. See,
He said I needed the wood.
you don't know what we're up against. I had crosses. I had holy water. I had garlic. I mean, I was ready. You just don't know. I was ready. No, it's a lot of it is taste. A lot of it is fashion. A lot of those things people make for us, and so there's a sentimental thing because somebody lovingly, made that for us or whatever. My rule is for me, and only me, because I have a lot of them, is I try not to wear the same vestments 2 weeks in a row. And so, and for that matter, if I get really hot and sweaty at the first service, I'll do a costume change between services.
Queen.
Yeah, she's grand. And so there are colors. Every season has its own color. And so we're coming up on Advent. The last Sunday in November, we'll begin Advent, which is the first season of the Christian year. And the color for Advent is either blue or purple, and we use blue at the Sunshine Cathedral. It's just a matter of choice, mine. And Roman Catholics would use purple. Anglicans, Lutherans probably would use blue. And we use blue. Then that's followed by Christmas, which is the color is usually white or gold, and we do that with our stoles, but red really pops. And secularly, red and green kind of feel like Christmas. So for Christmas Eve, we wear red, and then we wear the appropriate stoles. Epiphany is white or gold, I believe. Lent is purple. You can also use sort of like burlap brown, and we've done both. That's followed by Easter, which is white or gold. That's followed by Pentecost, which is red. Pentecost is one day. We try to make a season out of it because I like red, and it breaks things up a bit. So we get to have a few weeks of red. We do Pride Tide for at least 2 weeks, sometimes 4, where we do the leather, the rainbow, whatever says LGBTQ+. And then after Pride and Pentecost, it's called Ordinary Time, and that's green. So, and then sometimes we have, like Reverend Agnes had a stole that was sort of fall leaves and all kinds of things. And in those, and I've got one that has like kids, children of the world, and those, there's so many colors, you just say, the color of the season is somewhere in here. And and you do it. I know that Linda has an interfaith stole. In fact, I asked our sacristan yesterday to think about making me an interfaith stole with all the symbols of various faith tradition, and so on. So, the colors do mean about the season that we're in. It's a way of living cyclically and telling the stories of the scriptures. But then as far as like if there's a cross or a Star of David or two crosses or a Madonna or a rainbow or angels or whatever, that's just all taste and fashion and whatever you want. Some people wear Anglican vestments, some people wear Roman Catholic vestments, some people wear Protestant. Like every once in a while I'll wear a Protestant preaching gown in the pulpit, especially if I'm not celebrating communion. So, and that we do, and we don't say everyone do the same kind. Everyone wears what they want within those parameters to show the diversity of our community, that we have all kinds of people on all kinds of paths. And so we celebrate who people are, even with our vestments. So that was actually an easy question to answer. There's a little bit of tradition and a lot of personal choice.
And fashion.
And if there's ever any doubt, I'm always the cute one in investments.
He's always the one with the bling. Have you seen the like 7-pound cross that he wears? he's always rocking the bling.
It's a defense mechanism. Come if we want to.
All right. Anyone else want to chime in before Robert does his round robin?
All right.
Handle it, Robert.
Let's do it. Okay, so here we are ready to wrap it all up again. Thank you for being with us this evening for Christians and Cocktails. And we're going to do the round robin. And we're going to start off with Sam, the techno person, who's going to tell us how to do it. I should have had you played that thing at the very beginning, Sam. We're going to do it next week. How's that? We'll give it to you. It's the internet.
Has anyone else noticed that Tara and Sam have got like the season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race filter? What is that about? Like the Lucille Ball in
just dirty.
Really dirty.
I think it's your camera.
Wow.
But did you notice I'm fanning myself with a turtle?
That's the picture in you, isn't it?
Okay. So
I
Sam,
don't know what that's about. Okay.
what's your final word, Sam?
Well, I'm glad the thing about the vestments came up because I didn't know all that, and I've always really appreciated the diversity and the different styles. Like when you're looking, and you can see a lot of intricacies in them from the individual, different people's stuff. So I think that's really cool, and it's something that I really appreciate.
I will tell for those who know Darren said to me a few weeks ago when we went to Green or something like that, and he said, you know what, you guys gave me a real headache on that Sunday when you first went to Green, because there was so many different shades of green on that stage that I didn't know what to do.
Darren's our producer. We try to make him happy, but not that day.
Yeah, he wasn't happy that way. All right, how about Linda? Kayaking Linda. Oh, kayaking Linda. What's your word?
Yeah, there was flood here.
My cup, it's empty. It doesn't run over, but go ahead.
Yes, the takeaway when we spoke about prayer, it reminded me of one quote from the German theologian Meister Eckhart, right? Who said, if the only prayer you ever say in your life is thank you, that would be enough. So there's so much that we can be thankful of, and it's a simple prayer. Just say thank you and feel it, and you'll be praying.
And I love how the chime just brought us to prayer.
By the bell.
All right, Dennis, what is it, Mr. Scientist? The professor, like Gilligan Islands.
I'm going to go completely off topic. 2020 has been a heck of a year. It's been such a challenge for everybody, and this pandemic isn't over, and this country has some healing to do, and I think that hopefully we will start seeing that in the upcoming year, and we need to keep our country in prayer. We said, we sang God Bless America in church this past Sunday, which I had another congregant come up to me and said, I don't think I've sung that song in years. I don't think they were there the 4 years ago when we sang it after the election then as well. And we're just in a hurting place. The country's in a hurting place, and we all need to come together and heal and help, do what we have to do to get this virus under control and wear our masks and be respectful of one another and
Believe in science.
believe in science. Yes. Thank you, Tara.
So, Madam Scientist, how what you got for us?
My final thought actually goes a little bit along the lines of Dennis's as well. So I'm glad I got to go after him. I was actually going to recite the words from one of the songs that we sing in our service that really hit me hard yesterday. It actually has been hitting me hard the last few weeks. And the chorus goes like this: and God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. God will delight when we're creators of justice and joy. And I think, for the first time in a long time, those words really mean something, and like they give me hope. And I'm just happy. I'm thankful, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Sir Tito.
Well, we were talking about God earlier, and the only thing that I was thinking about when it came to believing in God is that I think we all believe in our own different versions of God and our own individual gods. And I don't think there's any right or wrong God. It just, like we've said in the past, we all have our journey with God and what we believe God to be for us in that moment. And so I don't think anybody should feel bad if they're thinking that their God is less than or whatever, because eventually I think you'll find your way with the God that you want to believe in, that you're going to be happy with.
Cool beans. All right, Margarita, land the plane.
Thinking about what Tito said, because I think the same thing about taking time for us to be in silence and really allow ourselves and give us permission to think bigger about whatever we think is spirit, God, or the presence. Just allow ourselves to be in silence and learn what that is from spirit itself.
All right. Thanks you everyone for joining us tonight here at Christians and Cocktails. It's been a blast as we have flooded through this conversation tonight. And we thank you again for being us. Just a quick reminder, if you join us on Sundays at 9 and 10:30 a.m. For in-room worship, please wear a mask, make a reservation. But other than that, you can also catch us on Facebook Live at 10:30 as one of our live broadcasts. So here is us signing off for this week of Christians and Cocktails. Have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you at some point of anything that we're doing. If you like what we're doing, we also invite you to give us a donation through the Sunshine Cathedral website at sunshinecathedral.org. All righty. Have a good night. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bless you.
Bye. Stay dry.
Kayak. Where's the end button?